bring up the first member of our broadcast team. He is the best boxing analyst in the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Kellerman.
All right, so I know you guys are excited about this fight, but I don't think you understand what a big deal it is. This is a perfect storm.
After a 2-year absence from the world of sport, Max Kellerman is finally back. He made his return, announced as one of the key broadcasters for the Canelo Alvarez-Terence Crawford fight on September 13th on Netflix. And while many fans are happy to see Kellerman back, many are also asking a very key question. Where the hell has Max Kellerman been for the past 2 years? Why has he not posted on social media? Why has he not called a fight? Why has he not weighed in on any of the major sports events of the past 2 years? And most of all, what happened really between himself and ESPN? In this video, we're going to talk about all of that and much more, so be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I'm Omer Q for Real Take Sports. Let's dive in. Those of you who may not know, Max Kellerman might genuinely be one of the most influential sports voices of the past decade. Beginning his career a Bronx native, hosting Max on Boxing on NYC Public Access as a teenager, he gained recognition specifically in the boxing community very early on in his career and would later join ESPN in the late 1990s as an analyst for Friday Night Fights alongside Brian Kenny. In 2002, he would go on to even co-host shows on ESPN like Around the Horn, then leaving the network for his own show on Fox Sports called IMAX. And while he hosted IMAX for a couple of years, he later went on to venture into ESPN Radio, becoming a key voice there, but also stayed in touch with his boxing roots on HBO's Boxing After Dark and World Championship Boxing. So, needless to say, Max Kellerman was someone who may have been rooted in boxing, but was never afraid to talk about things outside of that sphere. He was always weighing in on the NBA. He was always weighing in on the NFL. He was always weighing in on nearly every prominent topic in the world of sports. And as his career began to rise, he was given a very prominent position on ESPN, co-hosting Sports Nation alongside Marcellus Wiley and Michelle Beadle, and became a very leading voice on that show. But on July 26, 2016, that rise came to even new heights as Kellerman was announced to be the replacement for longtime ESPN First Take host Skip Bayless. Bayless was someone who was known very well for his back and forth with co-host Stephen A. Smith, and the question on everyone's mind was, how would this work? Would Max Kellerman be able to go toe-to-toe with Stephen A. Smith, one of the most influential voices even back then in 2016 that ESPN had? Would he be able to navigate the waters of one of ESPN's most high-profile shows? And would Max Kellerman be made for that prime time level of television? Well, the answer to that question was hell yeah. Max Kellerman very quickly established himself as a very different voice in that seat than Skip Bayless was. Whereas Skip Bayless was brash and very bold in his takes for the sake of doing things that were going to get fan bases riled up, Kellerman took a different approach. He was not as prone to illogical fallacies in his actual analysis. He was not as prone to doing things just for the sake of getting clicks. He was a true analyst, and in many back and forths with Stephen A. Smith, you could see that the logic that Max came in with every debate sometimes got to Stephen A. Smith, and that is a critical piece into, I think, why they ended up not getting along in the long run. But the point is, Max Kellerman established himself as a fan favorite for that show, and whether or not you agreed with him, and Max was prone to his own wrong and, quite frankly, insane takes.
No one except Jordan did it every single time. We're comparing Kawhi to Kobe. And the reason you're saying what your eyeballs tell you is because Kobe is maybe the best bad shot maker of all time. So it's memorable that he hit impossible shots under pressure.
Wait a minute.
But in a weird way, he could usually back it up pretty well. Kellerman was an ace when it came to trying to explain away even his most damnedest takes like Kawhi Leonard or whatever. It didn't matter. You knew that Max was being honest with you. And that is what made his departure from First Take very interesting. Despite the fact that First Take was already one of the best shows on ESPN at the time Max Kellerman came in, he helped accentuate that and bring that show to new heights alongside Stephen A. But all of that changed in September of 2021. Now, 3 years prior, Max Kellerman had signed a multi-year extension to help broaden his role, especially on boxing coverage on ESPN, and shift to doing more stuff in the studio and on radio, but he was still on First Take. However, in September of that year, Stephen A. Smith requested removing Kellerman from First Take, and on September 1st, 2021, he got his wish. Kellerman was out of First Take, and the requested removal was cited for lack of chemistry. That didn't mean that Kellerman was done. For the next couple of years, he would go on to host a radio show with the likes of Keyshawn Johnson and Jay Williams, and later on even got his own show on ESPN. But all of that changed in June of 2023 when Kellerman was unceremoniously fired in one of the most insane layoffs that ESPN's ever had that included the likes of Susie Kohlberg, Max Kellerman, and Jeff Van Gundy, bringing an end to an almost 8-year career at the company and beginning one of the weirdest hiatuses of any sports analyst we've seen. There have been people who have been fired or have left networks. Look at Shannon Sharp or even Skip Bayless, who's done it multiple times now, who have left FS1, left ESPN, but always landed on their feet or even done their own side projects. But Kellerman didn't do that. And it's been reported that the reason for that is because he's essentially been getting paid to stay at home. He has a non-compete, and for that matter, he can't really do anything outside of that. That's why you haven't seen him tweet. That's why you haven't seen him do anything. And a lot of the time that people have had to think about this and, what Max is up to, and how did we get to the point where Kellerman, one of the fixtures on the network and one of the true faces of the network, was a face that they could toss aside very quickly like that. And it has since been reported that the differences between Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith seem to go beyond just chemistry. In multiple interviews, Stephen A. Smith has stated how he and Kellerman did not get along on a personal level, saying, "It was totally my fault, I didn't like it," and describing them as oceans apart in terms of cachet. He would go on to elaborate that audience were connecting more with him, and he felt like Max wasn't resonating with the actual show, which is an interesting comment to say the least. And by mid-2023, after Kellerman's firing from ESPN, Stephen A. bluntly said on his show, "We haven't spoken other than hi and bye." And this is weird when you consider the fact that other voices on ESPN or who have left ESPN who worked with Kellerman, like Marcellus Wiley or Jay Williams, have noted that Kellerman was largely a pleasure to work with and they enjoyed their time with him. So it seems like Stephen A. Smith had a weird problem with Kellerman. And if the comments of Jay Williams bringing up Kellerman on ESPN First Take are any indication, and if Stephen A's reaction to Max Kellerman's name being dropped by Jay Williams on ESPN First Take is any indication, I don't think these fences have been mended at all.
Max Kellerman used to have this line, if the death beam was focused on the earth and it's the Martians against the U.S. Right. If the NBA...
So in conclusion, it looks like the main reason that Kellerman fell out with not only Stephen A. Smith, but ESPN in general, was because Stephen A. just didn't like him. And that made Kellerman and the contract that he signed in 2018 expendable. Because Kellerman's main value, quite honestly, for ESPN seemed to be as the foil to Stephen A. Smith. And the fact of the matter is, Stephen A. Smith could only take him as that foil for so long until he was sick of him. And if that is the truth, then that's a damning indictment on the way Stephen A. Smith does business. The fact of the matter is, you want to have a formidable foil if you are a key face like that. You need to have someone to bounce these debates off of. That is the beauty of sports debate. And it's not just about dogging people who are below you or making a buffoon out of both yourself and your fellow castmates. It is about doing stuff that is fun, that is lighthearted, but also that is rooted in some sort of realism. ESPN First Take has lost all of that, and it really started when Kellerman left that show. But now it seems like he's going on to bigger and better things. It looks like that non-compete, for what it's worth, is gone, and he is free to do whatever. I would fully expect him not only to be a fixture on these big fights like he's going to do in September, but also potentially starting his own show. The Max Kellerman Show is going to be listened to by a lot of people, and I promise you this. When he does speak about what actually happened and his side of the story on the Stephen A. Max Kellerman fiasco, it is going to be can't miss. But let me know in the comment section what you guys thought of this. Did you guys think that Max Kellerman got done dirty by ESPN and Stephen A? Or was it fair in love and war? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.